Okay, one more time. I have tried to film this video several times. The last time I tried to film the video, I thought I had it all, and then I went to go upload and half the video is gone. So I don't know what's going on, but it's starting to frustrate me. Anyway, hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessie and I want to thank you for being here and thank you for your patience. And I apologize in advance if this video is a little bit crazier than previous videos, but that's my real life, I suppose. In today's video, I want to talk about the importance of advocacy, specifically the importance of self-advocacy when we're talking in terms of being physically challenged. I believe that advocacy is important for all living creatures. However, I think that there is an emphasis on that importance when we're talking about individuals who are coping with specific challenges, be they mental challenges, emotional challenges, physical challenges, or some other kind of challenge. And this goes for either those who are self-advocating or individuals who are caregivers or advocating for friends or loved ones. It is just as important. Let me start by saying this. I am not a professional in anything other than my own experience, and I would never try to suggest what is appropriate for you. That is up to you to determine. I am only here sharing my personal experience and my opinions in the hopes that it can inspire and motivate someone and maybe perhaps even provide a perspective that has not yet been considered for certain circumstances. So please understand that I mean no offense with my opinions or experiences. That's all they are. Having said that, my own personal experience with advocacy started when I was fairly young, and life kind of hit me in the face with life lessons where I had to make a choice to either learn the skills of self-advocacy or turn my life over to the system and let someone else dictate what my life was going to look like. And if you know anything about me, you would know that that's just not gonna happen. I am very determined and I have goals, and I respect boundaries, but I accept no limitations. And if there's something that I really want, no one or no thing is going to stand in my way. The importance of self-advocacy came about for myself when I was late in my teens, on the verge of young adulthood, and I had left home. And first of all, let me start by saying this. I was not given any kind of life skills as far as advocacy. My guardian, with the best of intentions, I'm sure, had predetermined in their own mind what they assumed my life was to look like and what I was going to do with my existence. And me being a young on the verge of adulthood, I just had different goals for myself, and I didn't want to exist within those constraints. So at the age of 17, not quite 18, I ended up leaving home, and I got a crash course in life really quick. And one of the things that I learned is that if I was not going to be self-advocating, the world as it was going to determine what my life was going to look like without my input. So I had to learn very quickly to speak up for myself. And I had to do it in a manner that was tactful, which can be difficult at 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, because even though you want to say, bugger off or, F you, if you're trying to receive services or you want to be taken seriously, then it is really important that you learn to approach people and situations with a certain amount of tact and maturity, which again can be really, really difficult when you don't have much experience. But I learned fairly quickly. Was not always perfect, but I did learn. And there's some value in that, because if you approach things maturely and you don't tell somebody off, especially when you're trying to get services from them, the more you can approach something maturely, the more quickly and able they are to take you seriously. Because I have found that in my experience, first of all, being physically challenged, a lot of individuals had preconceived ideas of what life should look like. For me, they basically put me in a box with people of disabilities or people with cerebral palsy, and I was like, no, that's not me. I am an individual. Don't box me in, and I even fight for that today. So the number one rule is, you've got to remain respectful and calm, because especially the system today, the government with all the cutbacks and requirements for verifications and documentations and justifications, can be very, very frustrating. And some things you would think, why does that need to be justified? Isn't it obvious, right? Using my standing frame as the example, which, by the way, is my first video on this channel, and someday I will tell you that I will link that video in the description box, but I am not that savvy yet. So if you are interested in seeing the first video about my standing frame, please click on the little picture of me below this video, and that will take you to my channel, and you will have access to my videos. My need for learning how to be patient with the system in general was put to the test when trying to get funding for my standing frame. I would guess that process took about 5 years to do, and I'm going to tell you right now, it was a lot of work. It was exhausting. I wanted to pull my hair out, but you have to have a strong resolve. You have to remember, when you're in these battles, no matter what kind of services they're for, whether there be equipment, treatment, or some other service, understand your why, right? Because at some point you're going to have to justify something. And it's not going to make a whole lot of sense to you because you're going to think that it should be obvious. But unfortunately, it's not always obvious. Or they give you all of these little hoops to jump through, all the red tape that you have to go through. In fighting for something for a number of weeks, months, and even years, it's not always a day-to-day struggle, right? I mean, so with my standing frame, yeah, the whole process took about 5 years, but I had to take breaks, right? Because I received a whole bunch of no, or you have to do this first, and you have to go through this channel, and you have to, do X, Y, Z, and it's a lot, and it's mentally exhausting, and sometimes I had to step back, and that wasn't giving up. That was saying for my own mental health, I needed to kind of back away a little bit, kind of regroup, and come at the situation from a different angle. So at one point my insurance said that they did not see it as a medical necessity. Well, okay, so it's not being seen as a medical necessity because I have my wheelchair, right? So then one of my approaches was I wrote out a letter that explained every benefit that I could find. And I Googled every benefit there was to physically standing. And you would think that you wouldn't have to do that, because you would think that the places that you're going to receive funding or assistance is going to understand medical necessity better than you, but that does not mean that you don't have to justify it as such, because you're trying to receive this item. So you have to point out to them that, yes, in my situation, yes, I have a wheelchair. Yes, the wheelchair provides mobility. However, a standing frame can help with X, Y, Z, and all of the other letters before it, right? And it was writing all of that out and having that clarified and showing that it was a thought process. Then the people that are making decisions, whether it's your insurance company, your doctor, or some other agency, they have to look at it from a broader perspective. Once you kind of map it all out, you're not just looking at it as, I wasn't just looking at it as a mobility device. And I'm just using this as the example. Whatever service you're looking for, whatever equipment you're looking for, this technique is not just for my standing frame. That is only the example I'm using. If you're trying to get insurance or some other entity to pay for a service or to get services, sometimes you have to spell it out for individuals and say, this is the benefit of this. This is how I or this individual can benefit from it. This is why I'm fighting for it. And like I said, so I received so many no, that, most people would want to give up. But for me, I just, had to come at it from a different angle. So then it was, okay, well, I've been cultivating other relationships throughout the years. I cultivate relationships with physical therapists. I cultivate relationships with service coordinators, that people with disabilities. I cultivate relationships with doctors, whoever it is. Find professionals and other groups that can write letters on your behalf. The whole point of what I'm trying to say is that this is just my example, right? Whatever your situation is, the importance of self-advocacy, you fighting for your loved one or yourself, is going to do a better job than somebody who gets paid, who is doing it because it's a job. Because you are invested, right? You know yourself. You know the individual in which you're seeking services for, on a level that someone on the outside who is getting paid to do a job, who might very well do a great job, by the way, but they're not going to know you like you know you. They're not going to know your loved one the way that you do. So what I'm saying is, if you're capable of being self-advocating, or if you are a self-advocate for someone else, don't give up. Keep fighting, because it is worth it. And remind yourself of why it is worth it. And if you forget why it's worth it when you're in the mess and you're fighting those battles, Google it. Google the benefits of whatever service or equipment it is that you are seeking, and utilize that as your reminder, if not a resource to help you fight, right? And again, cultivate those relationships with professionals. Cultivate relationships with doctors, with service coordinators, with independent facilitators, with whoever it is that you work with for yourself, or for the one you're caring for. Create a support system that supports your goal of creating a life that resonates with you, for yourself or for the individual you're caring for. And never stop fighting. Don't give up, because that person is depending on you, or you are the best person to depend on. Now, having said that, that doesn't mean that you can't equip yourself with a support system, but don't give up, because if you give up, then we can't create change. And for myself, I believe that one of the keys to creating change and making things more accessible for people with all kinds of needs is to create the awareness that there is a need out there. And that is part of why I do my social media, is to bring awareness to a need that's out there. And I think everyone who is trying to get equipment, or trying to get services for themselves or for their loved one, it's important to have the self-advocacy. And if you're unfamiliar with self-advocacy, find the resources to help you. I mean, yes, you can Google it, but remember, we are surrounded in a world today of so much information. Sometimes it's hard to sift what is accurate and what works and what doesn't work. And a lot of times, it's experimental for yourself. You have to figure out what works for you. But when you receive a no, that's okay. Instead of seeing it as a rejection, see it as an opportunity for growth, and just keep moving forward. Supernatural is my favorite TV show, and Jared and Jensen started, I don't know what else to call it. It's like the Never Stop Fighting movement. And I think originally they had created it to help bring awareness and prevent suicide. Don't quote me on that. But I utilize it in every aspect of my life, right? Never stop fighting. Don't give up, because I have learned that these battles and these struggles, they help create the person that I am today. And I'm really proud of that. I'm not perfect, and there are things that I'm still working to improve on. And for as long as I'm alive, I'm always going to be looking for ways to improve, because I think that's the whole part and meaning of life, at least in part, is to grow and to develop. But I never stop growing. And I think the battles that I've gone through, even though I don't enjoy them in the moment, I see the value in the end result, in my own personal growth and developing my resolve. So, the importance of self-advocacy, I mean, there's so many different aspects of it, and there's so much that's important, because not only will you receive more personalized services and equipment when you're self-advocating, you open up those doors to those possibilities, but more than that, you build your skills, and you create more self-esteem and self-awareness of what is possible for yourself. And that is my reward. I love, even though I don't enjoy the struggle of a challenge in the moment, because it can be overwhelming and long and daunting and exhausting, I have an appreciation for coming out the other side and understanding the lessons that I've learned from that, and how I can utilize that in my personal growth and development, and hopefully share it with all of you and hopefully others. For me, that's happiness, knowing that I achieved something that was once thought it's only impossible until somebody does it, right? So why shouldn't that person be me or you? And the other thing I want to say is, beyond services and equipment, as far as self-advocacy goes, and this is important, if you are in a situation where you are working with a counselor, with a service provider, it could be a caregiver, it could be a social worker, a counselor, an independent facilitator, or someone within an agency that works with people with your condition, understand this. If you or the person that you advocate for is not getting what they need from that individual, or you're in a situation where you feel uncomfortable or unheard, you have the right, to my knowledge, you have the right, the legal right, to request someone different. And I know that can be difficult because, right, we cultivate these relationships, and sometimes we like these people. We like the social workers. We like the people that we've come to know and that know us, and we're comfortable with that. We're comfortable with what's familiar, and we don't want to offend anyone. But if your needs are not being met, or if you're uncomfortable, that's not serving you. And at the end of the day, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about services that are going to enhance the quality of your life. If you are not getting that from the individuals you are currently working with, You have the right to request someone else. Plain and simple. And you have to understand that when you do this, like I said, there are people that you're going to actually like that aren't, in some scenarios, you may like them as people, but they're not serving your needs. And the reason you're working with them is so that these needs can be met. If the needs are not being met, or you're in an uncomfortable situation, okay, you have the right to request someone else. Plain and simple. So always keep that in mind. And at the end of the day, it's your quality of life, the quality of life of the individual that you're advocating for. That you need to have a strong team that can do that for you. And if you're not getting that with your current team members, then you need to change team members. And it's not a personal thing for them. I mean, towards them, it's a personal thing for yourself or for the individual in which you are entrusted care for. So with that, I am going to say good night. And if at any point there's something that I did not touch on, because as I've said, I've recorded this video several times trying to get it right and uninterrupted. If there's something that is unclear or something that is missed, you can either email me or you can leave it in the comments, and I will try to respond to the best of my ability. I cannot speak for your personal situation, and I will not try to tell you what to do. I only offer my own experience. And hopefully you can find value in that. Having said that, if you have found value in any of my videos, please do like, share, and subscribe. And if you would, please leave me a comment down below and tell me what kind of videos you would like to see perhaps in the future, what kinds of things you would like for me to touch on, so that I can provide content that you're actually interested in watching. Or if you have any questions for me, that would be fine as well. I will try to collect those and come up with enough content with questions to do a Q&A. I look forward to hearing from you soon, and thank you for your time. Bye-bye.